You are tuned in to another edition of Americana Music Profiles, brought to you by Americana Rhythm Music Magazine and AmericanaMusicMagazine.com. I'm your host, Greg Tutwiler. Let's jump right in to the next exciting interview. Juliette Dinallo was born in North Carolina, grew up in Maine, but says she came of age as a musician in Boston. She now resides east of Nashville, Tennessee, where all of her life experiences influence her songwriting, singing, and performance. Juliette's latest album is Dream Girl, and she is my guest on this edition of Americana Music Profiles. Hi, Juliette. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you very much.
And thanks for joining me, and I look forward to learning about your music and what you got going on. Got a new CD out, I know, and maybe we could start by talking a little bit about your musical journey, how you got started, and tell me a little bit about how that started for you as a young girl.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was always surrounded by music. My mother was really into music and played guitar and flute, and she was a DJ for a while in college, and, you know, it was the Beatles era when I grew up. Now I'm dating myself.
That's okay.
So, you know, we would listen to, Beatles records, and I started singing along once I got my hands on the Andrew Lloyd Webber, Jesus Christ Superstar came out in the 70s there, and
right.
I loved it, and so I learned all the songs, and I used to sing them all the time, especially on the and drove my brother nuts. And then, interestingly enough, my brother ended up getting into playing guitar. You know, as a teenager, we were in a band together for a short period of time, and used to do some Rush covers, Led Zeppelin. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I did get some classical training starting in my early teens, and, on and off, I would take voice lessons, and I ended up going to Berklee College of Music a few years after high school.
Okay.
And then I learned a lot there, and I got to be on the gospel choir, which was a really great experience for me.
That's awesome.
It was really cool because I'd never been on a choir before. The school that I went to, it's called Sudbury Valley School. It's very, it's all about self-directed learning and very unstructured, and so I've never really been, I'd never had that experience being on a choir before, especially a gospel choir.
Yeah.
And it was just really the coolest thing. So I learned a lot. And from there, I didn't do much after college. I took a long sabbatical from music, and then I was in a kind of a bad marriage and making some bad choices, and so I kind of, after about 10 years after college, that's when I really started getting back into music. It was really kind of interesting, and then I never thought of myself as a writer, and then I just started writing. I must have had a lot to say. And
what drew you back?
Later,
what drew you back into music?
I think I was just going and I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying all these things, and I had a lot of stuff that I was harboring that needed to be dealt with. And I basically sort of took a sabbatical from the norm of dating and all that, and I just dove into music.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it was a drive. It was really odd. And then I started writing songs. I had a lot of bad relationships and so on and so forth, and I just started writing about it. And songs, and I started working with a few other people and started co-writing, and I never really thought of myself as being able to do it. And then shortly after that, I had enough for a record, and then that record got picked up by a small label, so it was like bing, bada boom, within a few years' time, and it was great. And it's so joyful to like find yourself, find your voice, find out a purpose, that you feel like you've had a purpose, and then you find out that this is something that you can do, and it has all the elements of the type of person that I am, very emotional and forthright with it. And so I don't know, I just love writing, and I just I don't necessarily do it every day, but I do it. I'm always thinking about it and coming up with new songs, and I'm in the process of recording a new record too.
Right. Okay.
So we'll see what happens with that. But it's just weird. I took some time off, and I guess it kind of just festered in me, and then it just boom, came out. So and it was hard because I was a little older when I started getting back into singing. Of course, took me a while to get my sea legs,
Yeah,
so to speak. My musical sea legs, you're listening to yourself and you're like, I could do better, but that's the part of the process. It's a very hard process sometimes because you're wearing your heart on your sleeve and, you're not always coming across the way you want to come across, but that's how you learn.
Right, sure.
Persevering.
Yeah.
But it's very fulfilling, and I love it. And Dream Girl is great. I met my husband. We got married. I have to think about this. 7 years ago.
Okay.
We met about 7 years ago, and we met in the music scene. And we had a little girl named Annabelle, who this record Dream Girl is the title track is about her.
Okay.
It's for her. It's a lullaby for her. And with this record, he produced it. We co-wrote a couple of songs, but most of it are my songs. And because before I had done a lot of co-writing, and I really wanted to try to write on my own, and I'm still doing a lot of that. I'm in the journey still. It's great. I'm still learning. I'm still trying new things and trying to find things to write about. And there's always something, especially nowadays.
Yeah. So you were born in North Carolina, I think I got this correct, and then grew up in Maine, went to school in Boston, and then back to or find yourself now in Nashville. Is that right, or near Nashville?
Yep.
Yeah.
East Nashville. We're in East Nashville. I still come back to Massachusetts a lot because I still have some business here and stuff like that. But I'm back and forth a lot. But we're there a good majority of the time, and it's really cool. I love meeting all the new musicians, and it's a relatively new move for us. And it's just a great city. What else can you say?
Yeah. So the Dream Girl album is your second. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then I think you just mentioned you're working on a third.
I am.
Yeah. How long has Dream Girl been out?
The digital release was the 5th of October, and it hasn't been released yet. The actual physical release date is the 16th of November.
Okay. Okay. So you're already working on the next project. That's good.
I am. Yeah. I'm running back on Wednesday to do some recording in Nashville at the Treehouse with Tim Carter of the Carter family.
Yeah.
And it's a really it's probably the coolest studio I've ever worked in. It's really neat.
How will this be different than Dream Girl, or will it?
Oh, it's definitely going to be different. It's different. There's a lot of different directions I'm going in. It's very interesting. The next record has a lot of things wrong. I think I'm getting a little bit more daring.
Okay.
Lots of different types of key changes, and just I'm getting more adventurous.
Yeah.
But we're still putting the pieces together on that one too.
Yeah. I think you mentioned on the Dream Girl that there were things that you sort of had written over time. You pulled some of those in. So I'm guessing the new record is some newer writes for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I wrote a lot of this new record within 6 months, which is interesting because Dream Girl took a few years.
Okay.
And it's just interesting how it works. And there was one of the songs on this record, on the record that we're just working on now. I started writing it probably a year ago, and that's the one that took the longest. But for whatever reason, all this traveling to Nashville was very inspiring. And so I just started writing like crazy. I just went to it's like a growth spurt, I guess.
Yeah. So when you say inspiring, how does that inspire you? Tell me if you can put into words what is this moving back and forth? What inspires you out of that?
Well, I get to listen to a lot of artists.
Okay.
And I think that's where I get my inspiration for songwriting. There's a lot of amazing, it's just a sea of amazing players and artists and, songwriters or just singers or just players for whatever instrument they play. To me, I find it so inspiring, and it's always something good going on in Nashville, and it's just I cannot boast enough about just check out the local scene. I know people like to go to Nashville and they like to go down to Broadway, which is great too because every single honky tonk is incredible. But to check out the local scene and listen to some of the the Americana artists out there, it's incredible. They're incredible players, incredible writers. So I find that inspiring.
Do you hear words or melodies first?
There isn't one recipe.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's words, sometimes it's words and melody, sometimes it's just a melody. Huh. Sometimes it'll be just, I play guitar, but not, I'm not proficient at it. I play, open chords just to accompany myself in the writing process. And sometimes I sit down with a guitar, I'll come up with some little chord progression. I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint what starts it. I wake up in the middle of the night with something in my head, and so a lot of the times if I don't record it or write it down, I'll forget it.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know, it's just there. It's interesting. Sometimes I connect to it, sometimes I don't, but I don't know.
So the musical flavor that then comes out of the end of that process, is that Americana feel for you, is that intentional or just who you are? Where did you?
It just comes out the way it comes out, and I don't try to bend it in any other way except for what ends up working with the song that I'm writing at the time.
Okay.
I don't know. It's like I don't tie it together with a vision. I can have an idea. A lot of the times I'll have an idea of what I want to write about. I would say that would be the biggest thing that's consistent about it, is that I'll have an idea of what I want to say, as far as a story or whatever, and then everything sort of ties in. So, however the story ends is how it ends, and that sort of sounds. So
yeah. Okay.
I guess that's the best way to explain it.
Yeah. Huh.
It's hard for me to explain the writing process because I don't really quite understand it.
Well, I find it fascinating because every artist gives me a different answer. I mean, there's similarities in all of it, but the writing process is as different as your fingerprint almost. It just seems like everybody has a little bit of a different twist on how that process initiates and then evolves for every artist. It seems like there's no one outside of a kind of a very similar structure. Doesn't seem to be any specific recipe for anybody that you could follow. So
isn't that fabulous?
Yeah. Well, it is, because that's why we have so much cool music and so many different approaches to the sounds, and so and
that's why we inspire each other.
Right? Yeah.
You sort of glom onto somebody else's thing, and you're like, wow, that's cool, and that sort of sparks something in you. And that's probably the best way to describe why being there inspires me so much.
Yeah.
But,
I
wish I had more.
Yeah, right.
More time. More time to write all the time.
Yeah. Is this full time for you? Do you have other things you do, or focused
solely? I do lots of things. I do lots of things. I would love to write, 100% of the time. That's, I think, the goal is to be able to have that be, the thing that you can survive on. But it's a very big challenge. So, I have other businesses. I have my own business where I sell ancillary products through car dealerships, and it's really fun. I really like driving around, and I write a lot in the car.
Yeah.
And then I've been a fitness professional for 30 years. So
okay.
I started when I was 2, mind you.
Wow.
Not anyway, so I've been involved in this business for a long time. Trainer, instructor. And I don't do that much. I don't do it very much anymore. I just help out at a few gyms, and that way I maintain my membership.
Yeah.
Keeps me healthy.
So what is
I wear a few different hats.
I'm sorry?
I said I wear a few different hats.
Yeah, right. Well, we all have to, usually, if we want to follow our passion. But what is a schedule